Hey, it's Joey from Imzz Elite. We're back in the shop. We're going to throw some 14-inch dive bars on this 2018 Softail Street Bob. Let's get into it. Once you got a towel or something up here to keep the tank safe, just go ahead and start removing all your hand controls. After you remove the hand controls, you're obviously going to need to go through and be ready to pull all your wiring out. So any zip ties holding anything in place, you're going to have to go through and cut, or else they won't come out. On the side of the neck, you're going to have this rubber boot. You're going to have to pull it out. It'll be attached to a piece of plastic. This one's already been removed. You're going to want to just pull all your handlebar wiring out of the neck. Follow back all the wiring that comes from the handlebars and unplug only what's coming from the handlebar wiring. Basically every wire in the front will be unplugged with the exception of your headlight wire. Now that you got everything unplugged, and start feeding it back through here. For all the guys with the stock setup, this isn't going to be as complicated because everything's going to be in the mini apes that come on the stock Street Bob. Now that the whole bar assembly is free, you'll be able to start back feeding all your hand control wires through the bars so you can pull everything out. It's easiest to pull them out and pair it like together, so the whole left side blinker and control, and helps if you push in the center while you pull at the same time. And then be extra careful with the connectors not to get them caught up so they don't rip off. The easier side is going to be the clutch side, since there's only two wires. You have the blinker and the hand control. On the brake side, you're going to have 3 wires because of this fly-by-wire. So what you're going to want to do is make sure, this is going to take a little bit of patience. You're going to have to push all 3 up while pulling, and not forgetting about this one, because it'll cause a jam. We just a little back and forth, push and pull all 3. Here you can do 2 together, and then a little bit on the fly-by-wire. You don't want to yank on that fly-by-wire. You'll ruin the twist. You're not going to get all these connectors up here through the bars at the same time. So on this side, it'll help if you kind of stagger them and get all the connectors one ahead of the other. So that you don't try to pass 2 connectors through side by side. We'll go blinker first, and the hand control, and the fly-by-wire, and just work them all through slowly. On this model, since he already has a custom brake setup, he's got it run through the tree, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and break this banjo bolt loose. If you break these lines for any reason, you're gonna have to go ahead and bleed your front brake system, so just be aware. With the Street Bobs, if you run up to a 12-inch dive bar, you won't have to do any of this. Once you go to 14, if you change the brake, you'll have to change the brake line length, and then you'll have no choice. Keep that from leaking, we'll go ahead and throw it back on. Forget to unplug your gauge mount. Even if you're on a stock Street Bob, it's going to be fairly the same. Your gauge will be mounted down in your handlebar risers. Might need a small pick to get into the little tab to unlock this. can just set that aside for a little bit. Go ahead and pull the riser bolts out. Just running ARP hardware on here, so this one's going to be a 9/16 12 point. Sometimes this might be easier to do while you still have the full assembly if it's too tight. Sometimes it just wants to spin the whole riser and you have no way to hold it still. Throw a little Loctite on these. Get our dive bars mocked up here. Make sure all your wires are clear of the center, because you'll get halfway through and realize that your clutch lever's stuck behind something. Make sure you don't cross thread them once you get them both started. Try and get them both pushed all the way down. Now I gotta get ready to fish some strings through here so we can go ahead and get all these wires fished back through this new set of bars. Need some string, an air nozzle, air hose. You could probably even use canned air if you don't have a air compressor. And just to make your life easy, once you got that hand control hole sealed up so the air can't get through, you're going to feed through whatever side you decide to start on through the hand control. And then once you got it in there, god damn it, feed your string through the hand control. And once you got it in there part way, get a grip on it and cover the other end. Every once in a while it's going to want to come out the other side. If this happens, sometimes you can just blow this one across. Now we can just start on the other side. The fun part is feeding all these wires back into the... You want to take your fly-by-wire first. Feed that out through the hand control hole just for a minute. So we're getting ready to tape all these connectors up so we can get everything fed through, but you got to keep all the plugs staggered so you're not trying to push too many plugs through an opening at once. I'll get some electrical tape. We're going to start with the fly-by-wire end. Make sure you get the connector wrapped up. Otherwise, when it gets to like a bend, they'll start separating and you may get caught up. Now you gotta take your string, I like to do just one overhand knot on the connector, and I wrap it around a couple times. Get some tape on it so it doesn't snag anything inside. It'll just save you frustration. Always make sure to push and pull at the same time. That way you don't rip any of the connectors or damage any of your wiring. Coming up on a connector right now. This is where you're going to need a pick again. I just need to help guide it along.
Would it help you if you tied the string out at the very end?
The hard part is that I'm actually fighting part of the sheathing too, like it's because it needs to pull forward as it starts to slip out. So you have rubber sheathing that's biting down on the metal as I'm trying to pull through. The fact that we make these connector holes square helps a lot. You don't have to de-pin anything. Just try to help everything along together. I can go through and untape everything so we can do everything all over again on the other side. If you have a seam ripper, it'll make it a little bit easier to just go through and cut all the tape. Just be careful not to cut any of your wires in the process. Air blower in the string again. Again, don't forget to stagger all your connectors. And make sure when you stagger them, you leave enough space between them that they can bend, so when you get to the hole, it can loop its way out. Now we can start cleanly running all these wires back through the triple trees. Oh, we forgot one. Now we'll go back and reconnect all of our plugs. Now you'll notice, because he already had a T-bar set up, he's gone through and added some factory extensions. You can get these from Harley. They're all pre-made extensions, just plug and play. On a Street Bob model with the mini apes from the factory, you won't need these if you go up to 12-inch dive bars, but as soon as you hit 14, you will need wiring extensions. You'll see he's also got a factory headlight adapter wire. That way you can run this LED if you're wondering why it looks a little different than stock. If you're not good at remembering what goes where, everything should be color coordinated, but just in case, before you unsnap all these, you could have made sure to take pictures on all these. The blinkers, they'll match by color, but because they both have gray connectors, there's no way to tell left and right away. So what I like to do is, after I get those two plugged in, before I stuff all this back inside the neck, I like to make sure to check the blinkers in case I have to switch those wires around. Alright, now that our blinkers, I made sure they work. We'll start getting everything buttoned up, getting the grips back on, getting the hand controls all buttoned up. From here, the next thing would be to get all this back in the neck. With this whole big plastic clip housing right here, I like to remove it because it just takes up a bunch of space in the neck. So on the model we're doing bars on, you'll see I've already removed this. So if you have this in your neck and it's kind of a pain in the ass to get back in there, go ahead and take some flush cuts and cut all the pieces that lock in all your connectors, and you'll have much more room in there. Good. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and get this back inside on this bike. With that plastic piece out of your way, you'll be able to just gently get all of your wiring. Try to keep everything kind of in line so that it's not just a big wrap ball. A little tidy. And get it all pushed into the neck cleanly. And take your boot and spread it over all your wiring. Be sure to push this rubber flap in, or you can just probably cut it off after you get rid of that whole plastic clip assembly. And now you just want to work your way around. It's got a groove where it's going to lock in to that hole in the chassis. So a lot of times it helps to get the top groove in first so that you can push up from the bottom. And you just work your way around getting that groove pushed in. Alright, now that our harness boot's all buttoned up, start getting these hand controls on. We got this perch up here. Go ahead and get your blinker out of the way, so it's just one less thing. Go ahead and pull from the bottom as you push up to get the slack out of that hand control so it'll sit nice and flush. Before you smash this all the way down, leave a little slop in it so we can get that new grip up under there. Since he's running a one finger lever, he's not as wide as a factory perch anymore. Remember, we already broke this loose once, so either way it needs to be bled. So I'm going to get this clocked right, so it's not going to hit the bars. Tighten it back down. Get all our hand control bolts all lined up so we got them. To get this started, you'll want to make sure you're not pinching wires. Most of these hand control housings have a notch in the bottom, a little clearance for the wires. Even after you hang your blinkers back on, it's best to leave this acorn nut loose until you get the hand control positioned, in case it's in the way of the top hand control bolt. So you can still swing it out of your way. You may have to push up some slack wire from down here. Before you buckle down this cap, make sure you get that flange inside the housing. Last step here is going to be adding our gauge pod back in. Now that I got it started and it can hold itself, make sure to throw a little Loctite on those. Just want to snug them up good and even. Don't want to strip them out if you're running this gauge. Got ahead of myself and put the wire for that gauge away already.
Fucking mosquitoes.
Reattach his fairing. Go through, we do just a test on it, all the buttons. She's ready to rip.